Hey guys, I'm going to show you a really basic and easy lemon bar recipe. And yeah, it's really delicious. I hope you guys like it. So, one of the ingredients is 2 cups of flour. And so right now I'm going to put in 2 cups of flour. I'm using my measuring spoon is only half a cup. So I'll be putting that in 4 times. When you measure out the flour, you don't need to sift it. So you can just scoop it right out of the bag and into the bowl. Some of the other ingredients that you're going to need is half a cup of half a cup of sugar, half a pound of butter, 4 eggs, two more cups of sugar, 6 tablespoons of lemon juice, 4 tablespoons of flour, half a tablespoon of baking powder, and just powdered sugar on top if you want it. And so now I will be adding in my sugar. You need half a cup of sugar, and you don't have to sift the sugar as well. This is just normal white sugar, and so I'm using half cup, so I'll have to put that in once. So that was easy. And then now for the butter. This is spreadable butter with canola oil. You can use any type of butter you want, but make sure the butter is at room temperature. It just makes it a whole lot easier when you're mixing. So now I'm just emptying out the butter container. And you want to try to maximize the butter because right now I'm setting the oven to 325 because I'm using a glass dish. If you're using a metal dish, set the oven to 350. And so now I'm just taking my hand and I'm just mixing the flour, sugar, and butter together, and that's going to be like my crust. And so you just want to mix it together. You want to it'll start to, at first it'll look really liquidy, but then once the flour will do magic. And so you just want to keep mixing with your hand. Make sure all that flour gets mixed in with the sugar and butter. And as you can see, I am using my hand, and I'm not using a blender because it just tastes better when you hand mix it, because sometimes the blender it's really messy sometimes, and just if you use your hand you can control what happens, but if a blender you can't really do that. And so now it's starting to look a little bit by crust, and right now I'm just taking the extra flour off the ends of the bowl and I'm just mixing that in with my dough. Okay, so now I'm bringing my glass plate over. And this is 9 by 13 pan. You can use a smaller pan if you want. It just will be really thick, and I don't suggest using that. So use 9 by 13. So now I'm just taking my dough and I'm patting it out with my hand. Another way you could do this is you could take the dough, sprinkle a little bit of flour on the cutting board or granite that you're using, and you just roll that out, and then you can just place that. When you're done rolling it out nice and thin and smooth, you just pick that up and you just plop it right in the dish, cut out the edges, and that's a lot quicker, but it's a lot messier. I'm using my hand so it has that, when we put the lemon bar mixture in, it kind of molds really nicely, and the crust is evenly put out, because if you have a rolling pin and one part's super duper lumpy, you don't really feel it. So if you use your hands, you can really feel the texture of it, and that's just really nice. So right now I am taking the ends of the pan, and you want to make sure that there are no holes. You do not want any holes in your dough, or else the lemon bar mixture will just go right through it, and it won't really look like a lemon bar. It'll just look like a lemon mess. and you don't really want that. So now I'm just taking my finger and along the edges I'm just pushing down just so none of the crust rises and somewhat even. You don't have to do this. I just like to do this because it just confirms, I confirm myself. Yeah. And so now I'm just spreading it out using my knuckles and fingers and everything to flatten out. And now I'm taking off my glove. I'm going to take this and put it in the oven. Now this is gonna be in the oven for 20 minutes. It's gonna be in the oven for 20 minutes. But since I'm using canola oil, it's gonna be a little bit longer. And so now I'm working on my lemon bar mixture while that's in the oven. So first I'm gonna crack 4 eggs. You need both parts of the eggs. If you use just the egg whites, it's not gonna taste very good. It's not gonna taste very good. If you use the yolk, it's gonna be very, very, very rich and not very creamy. So now I'm taking my whisk and I'm gonna beat the eggs. When I beat the eggs, I want to make sure all the yolks come together, and they're not separated anymore. So the faster you whisk it, the faster it comes together. So now I'm done, and I'm going to put this on my mini plate that I have all my utensils on. So now I'm taking my 2 cups of sugar, and I'm just going to add that in with the egg mixture. So now I'm going to take the flour. I'm going to take my 4 tablespoons of flour, not teaspoons, tablespoons of flour. And I need 4 of those, and I'm going to put those right in with the sugar egg mixture. Make sure all the flour comes out of the cup. Sometimes flour likes to stay in, so make sure you can use your finger to help get that out. So now I'm taking my half a teaspoon of baking powder. I'm just going to add that one little tiny scoop in there. Half a teaspoon, not a tablespoon, a teaspoon. Big difference. And so now you guys might be thinking, how do you make lemon bars taste lemony? With lemon juice. So I'm going to do 6 tablespoons of fresh lemon juice. I've pre-squeezed. And I'm just going to fill my tablespoon up. Just dump that in there 6 times. And there I go. And if you look closely, the baking soda starts to fizz. It's pretty cool. It's pretty awesome. And now I'm going to take my whisk. I'm just going to mix this all together. At first, it's going to be a little hard because of the sugar. But then once you get over that, it will be very easy. And it'll turn to a very, very, very light yellow color. And you want to mix in 2 directions, because if you mix in only one direction, just some of the stuff just flows and doesn't actually mix. If you mix 2 directions, the sugar will it'll dissolve faster. And so that's what the consistency should look like when you take your whisk up. It should it should be like almost like really thick water, so more like juice, kind of. It should look like juice. Okay, so now my crust is done actually. Now I'm just gonna take that out of the oven. I'm using my oven mitt so I don't get burned. And look at that. That is just beautiful right there. It's like it's not burnt or anything, which is really nice. So now I'm just heat the oven up at 350. And so now I'm just going to pour my lemon mixture right over that crust. Looks so good. And make sure all of the corners are filled. We don't want just an empty corner of we just don't want an empty corner of crust. Yay, so now this is going to go into the oven that is preheated to 350 degrees. I have to use my oven mitts because the pan is still hot and I don't want to burn myself. So I'm just going to put that in. And I'm going to timer for 25 minutes. And there we go.